welcome back to my channel. We are going to continue on with the throwback series where I use a Halloween palette from last year or the year before that didn't really get used in preparation for the new Halloween palettes that are coming out. So today we're going to use the Spooked palette. I do, spoiler alert, have the Haunted palette, but I think I only used this once because I had a baby and was at my in-laws' house and had another baby, and it just didn't get used. I want to say I used it. I know I used it once for sure, but I don't know if I used it a second time. I used the white in it the other day, but that kind of is what prompted me to want to do this. So if you want to see some inspiration, if you got this palette last year, then stick around. If you are new, welcome. Make sure you take a moment, hit that subscribe button. Also, leave me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. I really appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. And yeah, let's jump into it. So I went ahead and primed with my Gerard clean canvas. I've been using the white one. I got it in a subscription box and I've really been liking it. I have the original, like the regular one in fair. They say you can use them as concealers if you're not familiar. I've never tried to use them as a concealer. You could, because they do have a couple of different like skin tone shades, but I've really been liking the white. So that's what we have. I'm going to see if that makes a difference. I don't remember what primer I used last year. I'm sure it was the regular clean canvas, but mine was starting to get older. So I just remember I didn't love the mattes from Gourmand Girls. Like there wasn't anything wrong with them, but it wasn't my favorite matte formula. So we're going to revisit. I'm going to swatch a couple of the shimmers because like I said, I know I used Pumpkin, this like orangey duochrome. This Trick shade, I guess, is kind of a duochrome. It doesn't really look like it in the pan, but I guess it is. And then Spirit, I think I used a little bit of Spirit and Pumpkin because those, like the pan embossing's completely gone, but you can see most of the mattes haven't been touched. I'm kind of interested in the pink, which I think I swatched. It's the shade Bloody. So there's that. So I might do like a halo eye with the pink in the middle for one look. And then I'm kind of interested because Trick isn't normally a shade I would necessarily gravitate towards on the lid because it's a little bit darker, but it's pretty. I went back and watched some other people's video from last year for inspiration because this has a little bit, there you can kind of see the shift. So I know Pumpkin has a shift. We'll swatch it since I'm talking about it, since we're here. There's the shade Pumpkin. It's a little bit more sheer. Like it looks orange in the pan, but obviously you can see it doesn't have as strong of a base as the other two, but there is a shift in there. So we'll see. I'm leaning towards doing like a more orangey, earthy look with Trick on probably this eye, and then this eye we'll use the pink, the black, maybe the shade Fright, something a little bit different than what I would probably, because I'm pretty basic with a lot of my Halloween looks. I like, you know, the oranges, which we're going to do on the other eye, you know, more traditional, which that's relative because some people are more drawn to the purples and like the greens and the blacks versus like the oranges. And okay, I'm gonna go in with a little bit of the black just because I want to have a strong, I always feel like if you put the darkest color on the primer, you're gonna get more impact. I don't know if that's just in my head, but that's, especially if the shadows aren't as pigmented, I will go dark to light. So we're gonna try that on this side. I think I'm gonna use the black and then this shade called Fright. It's kind of a burgundy color. And then we'll put the pink in the middle of the lid and see how that looks. And then we might put a little bit of Pumpkin in the center to kind of give it more of a shift. So that's what I'm thinking. And I've got just a little brush because I have, if you've been here before, I have smaller eyes, so I don't like to go in with a huge brush ever. especially for a halo eye, because I don't want the black to overwhelm, but I definitely want it to deepen things up. Move that a hair too far. I try and keep the mirror out of frame. I've never had anybody on my, like in my comments complain, but I've seen other people on their channels, people complain about the mirror. So I try and keep it out of frame. I will say it annoys me sometimes when I'm watching other people's videos, so I will try and keep it out of frame. And I will switch sides like I did in my last video so you can see, because this is normally the eye that I film on camera just because I'm right-handed and it's easier, but I will move you over. I did pick up the Haunted palette, so obviously I didn't hate their formula. I didn't get the Nightshade palette, and I've cleaned it off and I'm just softening up the edges. This is going to be just a little bit chatty, more so me just playing with the shadows than an actual tutorial, but I will try and tell you what I'm doing. The Nightshade palette was very purple heavy. I will link Gourmand Girls down below. The Spooked palette is supposed to come back in stock. The Haunted palette, as I'm filming this, is still available, and then the Nightshade palette is available, and then they have a couple of different like bundles. So I will link the Haunted palette down below, and then follow them on Instagram if you're interested in the Spooked palette. I think they restocked it once already and it's sold out, and they're planning, I think they're planning on doing one more. So if you're interested in this palette, you should be able to get a hold of it. And then I think it's probably going to be one of those things where they'll bring it back again next year with the Haunted, would be my guess. Spooked was really popular. It sold out, I think, within like a day and a half or something last year. I bought it when it launched because I was really excited for a like traditional, this is more of a like traditional Halloween color story to me with a little bit of a twist because you got grungy shades in here, but I bought it when it launched. But my guess would be if you don't get a hold of it this year and you're interested in it, I would assume that they'll bring it back again, at least the Haunted one. So again, I will link them down below if you're interested in any of their palettes, if you want to look. They have a couple of other palettes. The palette that I got in the Ice Cream Beauty box, if you watched that video, that palette is available on their website for purchase also. That's kind of a pretty like little like alternative like color story for fall. I like how deep this is, so I am happy that I went in the black first. I did have issues layering some of the mattes, like the green and the brown. You got to be careful. This khaki and the brown right there, they get muddy. I had an issue when I used it, and that may be why I didn't like go out of my way to reach for it again. I will say this formula for me works better going dark to light. Not every formula is that necessary, but for me, in my experience and the way I like things to look, that's the opinion that I've started formulating, which is fine. It's helpful. I do have some formulas that I work dark to light for that reason. So it's helpful to get a better idea of that, because like I said, I haven't really reached for this because I had a little bit of trouble. And I also like to keep in mind, like I had just had a baby, had another baby. You know, my other daughter was a year. So that could have also contributed. I took the black up just a little bit to get a better blend. Some sort of a dog hair. Okay, so I like the way that looks, and I will use, I don't know what it would be like to blend that up a little bit more and bring it up higher. Maybe the purple. I don't know if I want to use this brush or not. Maybe this little, like, some of my brushes are still stuck together from being washed, so dip into the purple in the palette. It's called Cauldron. We will do, I think pink and purple go together. I don't know what other color to use, especially because the Fright is kind of like a brown burgundy-ish tone. just to bring this up a little bit higher. It's doing a good job. It's blending. This isn't going to be like, I'm trying to leave the middle open. I might put a little bit of a shadow in there, but I don't know if I need to. I'm trying to decide how high I'm going to take the shimmer. I try and be careful because I've complained about this before. Things can be up in my eyebrow real quick if I go in with too much, too far up. I've had that issue with some of the Jeffree Star palettes when I was first using Blue Blood, because some of those shades are very, very pigmented. Okay. Under the brow bone, I'm going to throw a color on right now. Just the white. Ooh, I just stuck my finger in pumpkin. Let's see, tap it out and then smush it back in. I like dug out the corner on accident. Put it back. The shimmers are very soft, so it seems like it went back in. Just trying to get some white here. Ghoul. What shade is called? Is there a Fright shade in here? Oh, the brown one. I was like, I thought I just said that. I did. Losing my mind. And then we'll leave it like that. Palette keeps trying to close on me. It's stiff because again, I didn't use it a whole lot, so it hasn't get the orange out from under my nail. We're in the middle of making our daughter's Halloween costumes. My daughter Diana, the one that is 5 currently, is going to be Ariel. So I found a mermaid dress that was brand new at Goodwill for like $7. So she's going to be that. And then Emma, who is going to be 2, is going to be Sebastian. So my husband and I made tutus. I showed him how to do that today. So we have a red tutu with some pink and gold. I'm going to get my glitter glue on while I'm telling my story, my ramble. And then Amelia, who is going to be 1, is going to be Flounder. So we made a yellow and blue one for her. Very, very cute. Let me know if you guys want to see them in their costumes and I can shoot a video with them on. And then I got a red t-shirt and a yellow t-shirt, and we have like iron on like vinyl, so we're gonna put Krabby and Fishy on their shirts because I thought that was funny. So I'm just taking some glitter glue. It's the NYX glitter glue is the one that I like. Okay, and then I'm just gonna go in with Bloody on my finger. Trying to go in not super heavy. I feel like this has a little bit of an orange shift to it. And put some of this on. And it's gonna go and then I'll take some of the shimmer on a brush and just blend that out. And then I'm just tapping it over the black just a smidgen. And then I'm debating if I need to go in with a little bit of the purple in the shade Treat, the shimmery purple, not the, maybe a little bit. I'm gonna go in with just this little baby. This is a crown brush. In the shade Treat, which is the shimmery purple. Maybe just a little, oh, it picks up fine on the brush, just to kind of blend that into the black. I feel like this is making me think of Monster High with Draculaura. I don't know that I meant to do that, but that's especially with the purple, because I feel like purple's a Monster High color. The little bit of purple that I'm using is kind of giving me Monster High vibes, which is fine. That'll never leave my head now that thought entered. But I like the way that looks. I just needed a little bit of something to help blend the pink into the black. And then on that same little fluffy brush, I'm just gonna dip into Bloody, and you can see pick up just a smidge. And then just to soften, the kids are At least Emma, the 2-year-old, is up from her nap. Okay, I think that's pretty. For lower lash line, I would say maybe just Cauldron, the dark purple, because there is like a hint of purple because we used it to blend out, but it's not like, I don't think it's like screams overly purple, I think, unless you're like super close to me. Okay, and then on the inner corner, and I don't think I need to take pumpkin down the middle. I might tap a little bit just so we can see it, but I'm going to put pumpkin on the inner corner and then put a little bit of the shimmery purple towards the front here because there's a little bit of a gap. If you've been here, you know I tend to like to do full shimmer on the lower lid just because my allergies are terrible and my eyes get a little bit runny, but I don't know what I would blend underneath that purple. Maybe a little bit of Fright, which isn't really a blending shade because they're both dark. This, I will say, this is pretty mid-tone. There's not a lot of, like, there's a white and a black, but everything is pretty like mid-tone and dark. So if you need like light blending shades, you would probably need to dip into something else or mix with the white to lighten up a color. But I think that's pretty. Let's take just a tiny bit of pumpkin, since we're here, on my finger. Just like that. And I'm just gonna go right in the center of the pink. I don't know if it's doing anything, but probably added a little bit of something. But I think that's pretty. Okay, I'm gonna clean off my brushes and move you over and we'll do the other. I finished priming again with the white. I do definitely think the white base has made a difference. It's the description on the Gerard website is the white is supposed to help keep things more true to color. And I have like a white liquid shadow and a black liquid shadow, and I use those underneath glitters. So I am aware that like white and black bases will change the way eyeshadow looks, but I've never used the P. Louise bases. So this white base is, I found my flat brush that disappeared. I think the white does make a difference. Now, you don't have to buy this one. I do think the Gerard ones are worth the money, and you can get them on sale when they have like holiday deals. They're like 10 or 20 bucks. I think that maybe they're 20, and I got mine original one for 10, and then my backup, the one that I just opened, I got for 10. The white one I got in the Ice Cream Beauty box, but I do think they're worth the money because my last one lasted me like 2 years. I dug it out and now my glitter glue is now in here, which if you watched a couple videos ago, the tip off of my glitter glue broke and it's a brand new tube, so I salvaged it. But okay, we know we want to use Trick, so that you can kind of see the shift right there. There's a little bit of an orange. There we go. And then gold. So I'm not insane because when I watched a couple of people's videos, I could see like the shift. I watch Rachel. I'm not going to try and pronounce her last name. I will link her video from last year down below because I've rewatched hers in preparation for this. So you can see the shift in that shade in her video really well. So I will link her video down below. I'm going to go in with the black again, and then the orange, which is Haunted. We're going to use the same brush. I wiped it off. There's so much eyeshadow powder in the bottom of that like color switch. I need to clean that out. Forgot to clean those out. You can wash those. The sponge piece comes out and you can clean it and rinse it out and reuse them. If you're, I had to look it up because I had the color switches and I was like, what do you do with these? Because I would flip it over and then like, oh, you can take this piece out and rinse them out in water and then let them dry out and put them back. I need to do that. And when I clean my brushes, I did not do that. So I'm just softening the edge of the black a little bit just because I want some depth out here. especially with using a holiday like themed palette. I like a little bit of drama. So we're gonna do that and then pray that the orange doesn't look weird over the black. I'm gonna use the little fluffy brush that we use, maybe the Sigma brush too. We'll try that first, just because it's a little more narrow. Make sure it's clean. Okay, so Haunted is the orange, the pumpkin-y shade. I'm gonna pick up a fair amount because I've had issues with pigmentation, and that it could be, you know, issues with postpartum, because my 2-year-old, almost 2-year-old, turns 2 on October 2nd. So she, you know, was a year. And then the one that's turning 1 turns 1 on October 11th. So some of the issues that I was having could just be because I was like 2 weeks postpartum or 3 weeks postpartum by the time Halloween came, and just wasn't. And again, my clean canvas was going on 2 years. I do have a new one open, so it may not have been gripping quite as well as it normally does, because I did start to think towards the end there, I was like, I think my primer's not doing its job, which 2 years is a long time. The fact that I was able to use it that long, because you just need just the littlest bit. And some of it, I feel like my skin has changed a little bit, so that could have been, and you know, there's a lot of factors. Like I said, I like their formula enough that I bought the Haunted palette, but I will say their matte formula is still not my end all be all, which there's nothing wrong with that. I do love their shimmer formula. I like the duo, the multi-chromes and the duochromes that are in here, and just the metallics I think are really nice. And this black seems to be working into that orange, like right out here, fine. I don't know that it would have been any better for me to go in with the orange first, honestly, but it's working. I don't think it looks terrible, and I'm not going anywhere with these eyes on, obvious. I mean, I could, but I'm not. I'm just going back upstairs. I'm filming this on a Saturday, so I just came down while the little ones were still taking a nap. One of them woke up, but I don't know if I keep looking for a blending shade and there's not one. So I'm gonna clean this off and then try and go in with the white under my brow bone like I did on the other side. Yeah, I think I subconsciously keep looking for something to blend, and there just isn't. So that's the other, which this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a 14, 3, yeah, 7. So it's a 14 shade palette. So I mean, you can only put so many colors in here, and it's not the end of the world to go get something else if you need like a lighter orange or a yellow, which I think there's yellows in the other palette. So I think using them together can kind of fill in the gaps if you need some blending shades. So and the orange is blending out pretty well now that I got some white up there, so I think that's fine. There's like shadow in my eye. Okay, so let's put some glitter glue on the lid. I'm not doing anything life-changing, earth-shattering. Just want to get a better feel. Because honestly, last year after I used it, I was like, it's okay. Like, the shimmers are nice, but I was like, it's just okay. So I'm trying to I have a better, I think it's good. Like I said, kids are playing, and I think Odin's Eye, if I had to pick like one brand that I could only keep one group of palettes from, it would probably be Odin's Eye. It used to be Kaleidos. Kaleidos used to be my favorite. Okay, so we're gonna go in with Trick. on my finger, and then I will try and you may not be able to see what I'm doing really well, so I apologize to you because I am blind and I'm trying to get I will say now that it's on my eye, there we go. You can see the shift better. Because in the pan, it looks really dark. They're just playing, and my husband is up there. They're pretty quiet until I come down here, and then it's like, I'm sure you can hear them. It's like a stampede, which is funny. Okay, and I'm just filling in that inner corner. And then I don't know, like normally I would take another shimmer on the outer part. I guess there is a little bit of the green. I could put a little bit of apple bob, the green, which is not a duochrome, it's just like a green metallic, just a little bit right here. That's pretty. We can do that. I'm okay with that. Covered up some of the black, which is fine because the black just for depth, but I like the little bit of green right there. That's pretty. I'm happy with that. I'm going to use pumpkin again on the inner corner because that's still my favorite shade in the palette. And then we'll figure out something to do on the lower lash line. There is a like army green in here. What is it called? Scream, like an olive khaki green. Take a little bit of that. And then I could probably put a little bit more of apple bob near the front. And I think there's a shade there. It looked like there was a couple of overlapping shades from Haunted. I will do, when I do my, not necessarily review, but my video with the Haunted palette, because I do want to do it 2 looks or 4 looks depending on how I'm feeling. And I will link Rachel's video for the Haunted palette. She swatched them and there was a couple of overlapping shades, but it's only a couple. So I will swatch those if anybody else is curious and doesn't watch a bunch of other people's videos on it when I do my Haunted review. I call it a review. It's not really going to be a review, more like a first impression, but I am thinking of doing like a 2 or a 4 look video with at least 2. So I took a little bit of apple bob, which I can show you. I used this green, and then this is the green in the outer corner, just to put a little bit more shimmer to connect to the inner corner. I'm going to take you back out and we'll do. So let's talk about final thoughts. I put my glasses on and it took me a minute because I've had them off for like a half an hour. I am very happy with both looks. Obviously, if I was doing both eyes the same, I would do a color, like probably a pink. I have a hot pink. I think it's a lip liner, but I use it as an eyeliner. And then probably an orange. I have kind of a coppery orange. I would probably do that in the waterline and then liner, winged liner for both, and lashes. But we're just playing. I'm gonna go back upstairs. This will get washed off at some point. But I'm very happy with both looks, and I will say I probably need to use this with my new clean canvas. I think part of the issues I was having with the mattes is this is definitely a formula where I suggest if you're wanting to use the black, if you know you're going to deepen up the outer corner and you want it to be like dramatic, like more of like what I have going on, go in with the darkest shade and then blend. Because I had issues, like I said, especially with these two, it muddied up on me. So this is a formula that I think works better dark to light. That's just my opinion. With a wet base, the white I think improves a lot because it does, like the claim says, helps keep the colors looking true to color. It's going to make them as bright as they can be. I do think just a regular concealer would be fine, like a lighter concealer. Like I have a ColourPop My ColourPop concealer is pretty light because I was crazy when I picked up the shade. I use this just to brighten, like I'll do one little dot after I do my regular concealer that's a little bit closer to a better shade, but you don't even have to get a white base. I would recommend like some sort of light concealer that's going to stay tacky a little bit longer, just because of the way their formula is. There's nothing wrong with it. Every palette performs differently. Every brand's formula performs differently. So that's kind of what I've gathered from this. So it just changes the way I think about it. I like it much more now than I did last year. Overall better experience. I'm extremely happy with the way these looks came out. And then, like I said, pumpkin looks like it has a colored base in the pan, but you saw it swatched very sheer. So I think trying to use that on the lid, this is definitely more of what I think I was going for when I used this the first time, and I didn't quite get there because I didn't do the right matte combination, and I didn't do the right shimmer on the lid. So there's a learning curve, especially with new brands. So I will say I do like this palette better, and again, they are planning to restock it. I will show you Haunted while we're here, since I have it. And again, I am going to do a dedicated video with this. So this is Haunted. The packaging's super cute. So with Spooked, you have the black and orange with the spider webs, and then you have, was this a gray and kind of pink, fuchsia, Haunted with the ghosts. They look very cute together. And then I will show you the inside if you haven't seen it. Again, this palette is available, so you can see there is a purple. It's different than the purple in Spooked. It's a little warmer, I guess. And then there is a satin shade, so that's the difference. There's, a metallic. You've got the green. I think this one's got a little bit more like glitter and sparkle in it, but this is a standard metallic like the green in the other one. Again, tone is different. I will swatch them together. You've got a couple of matte yellows. You got a shimmery pink, a couple of purples that have some shifts. And then this pink, what is this called? They use like calligraphy. It's not really calligraphy, but like the weird font, and then the pink on that gray. Apparently I'm old and can't see. It's spectral. So I would say this is a satin that you could probably just use as a matte, but I will swatch them when I do the Haunted palette, and then I'll pick out if there's any shades that seem like they're similar. Oh, it is the green. That army green, there is a shade in, try not to dig my fingers in it. There is, if you can see, this shade up here looks like it's similar. And then you do have a darker green over here, which is nice. And then Supernatural and Fright look similar. I want to say in Rachel's video, if you go and watch it, there was like 4 or 5 shades. Like the black is going to be the same. I'll swatch them, but Scream, I would say Fright, just looking at first glance. And then Apple Bob and Eerie, the dark green in this one, the shimmer, and then the shimmer in this one are probably going to swatch close. It looks like Apple Bob is in between, but that's a little sneak peek if you haven't seen the Haunted palette. Again, I will link this palette down below because it's available. And then if you are interested in picking this up, follow them on Instagram, and that's always where I've seen information. Their restocking of this will be available on Instagram at some point. But again, I will link this so you can have access to their website. I will link Rachel's video from last year of the Spooked and her video of Haunted, which I thought was very helpful because she kind of goes into the Nightshade palette a little bit, because this palette and the Nightshade palette, when you look at them, look similar. But what attracted me to this one is that this is a more grungy color story and not as purple heavy. You've got some pinks. Like this is a pink, and like that's a lavender that kind of leans more pink. That's a pink. That's a purple with like a blue shift, and then you've got that purple and then like a taupe. So this was definitely more up my alley as far as color story. I wasn't really interested in the Nightshade. It's a pretty palette if you like purples and greens. Again, I will link Haunted will be linked, and then you can check out other stuff on their website. But it's very, very purple heavy, and I don't wear a lot of purples. I have really dark circles, even though I wear concealer. I just feel like too much purple on me with my skin tone can make me look like I have a black eye if I'm not careful, if I don't use the right tones. So I just didn't mess around with the nightshade. But if you're not familiar with this brand and you like purples and greens, again, I think they were doing bundles with this in the nightshade palette. So again, I will link them. You can check them out. So that is some little sneak peeks of Haunted. Again, there will be a dedicated video with 2 or 4 looks. So make sure, again, you are subscribed so you don't miss out on that. And yeah, thank you guys so much for sitting and hanging out with me and playing with me. Again, sitting and playing with me with the palette, because I have a much better opinion of Spooked now that I've used it more with a different base. And yeah, thank you guys so much. I am done rambling for today. Again, thank you for joining me, and hopefully I will see you in another video very, very soon. Bye, everybody.